Okay, listen. Don't be alarmed. This is merely a dream. Or is it? Either way, you should go to patreon.com/Productions for less than... What? We've already done this bit before? Shit, okay, I guess we need to go deeper. Okay, we may be upside down or in space or under the sea, but whatever, who cares? But be assured that no matter where we are, you need to go to patreon.com/Productions. That's bonus... Shit, not yet. Even deeper. Okay, listen. We are elbow deep in your dreams right now. If you haven't gone to patreon.com/Productions, we may have to go all Kruger on you. Don't miss any extra content, and don't sleep on this deal. Enjoy the show. Or, can someone get me out of here? You are listening to the After Credits Cast, the only film podcast to directly implant its ideas into your dreams. Subscribe. Go to Patreon. Overthrow the men on Capitol Hill. Wait, what? No, I didn't say anything about Capitol Hill. But, now that you mention it, why don't we overtake the government? I mean, they can't stop all of us. I'm your host, AJ Waseskob, and I'm joined by my partner in Dream Crimes, Ryan Maldors.
Okay, I get to be homicidal in French. All right, I'm good.
I mean, that's the best kind of thing, to be homicidal. I guess French, I could go without. Either way. Yeah, so Ryan, are you ready to overtake the government? I
suppose.
I mean, I didn't suggest the idea. Somebody else did. But, I'm all down for it. Let's just go for it. Someone in the back of the class just raised their hands like, overthrow the government, man! And we're like, yeah, let's do it. Let's go for it. While we're working to overthrow said government, you can join us on many platforms of choice, including Patreon, YouTube, Peepa, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, TuneIn, and Podcast Addict. Yeah, you can go to all those platforms to find us there, to hear us about our plans to, save the world from itself, including, overthrowing the government. Ryan, if they want to reach out to us directly to give us their suggestions on what we can do for world domination, where can they send that email to?
They can send that email to 3 hour self-indulgent therapy session in dreams at... Oh, excuse me. Sorry. My opinion was slipping out. That's evacstation at gmail.com.
Ryan, I'm sorry. That's called a dick. Anyway, by the way, the intro song for this week is Dreams of an Absolution by Bentley Jones. For those who don't know, that is, yes, the theme song for Silver the Hedgehog. Don't judge me. Anyway, Ryan, I've been boasting about how awesome these new microphones we have are. I need to also boast something else here. I am so fucking glad I also bought a new keyboard and mouse, because this mouse moves across the screen so much better.
Nice.
It can actually get from side to side without me having to pick up the mouse at all. It's great. My old mouse is definitely out of date. It needed an update.
Yep, trash tier.
Much like last week's movie, but this week's movie is...
Much like this week's movie, you mean. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's going to be one of those episodes. Well, as you guys can understand, the Nolan Wars have continued into 2012's Inception. Wah. Written and directed by Christopher Nolan, the film would go on to gross $829 million, which is over 5 times what it cost, which is better than the last movie. Also, the cast includes Lucas Haas, Michael Caine, Pete Postlewaite. Okay, listen, dude, you're the only name I can't pronounce on here, so send me a letter and explain this to me. Marion Cotillard, Tom Berenger, Cillian Murphy, or Cillian Murphy. I've heard it both ways. I don't know which one it is. Dilip Rao, Ken Watanabe, Tom Hardy, Ellen Page, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and the man Rose let drown in the Atlantic, Leonardo DiCaprio.
I wish he'd drowned for real, then we wouldn't have to watch this movie.
Oh, but then...
Is that too dark? That's too dark.
But then, Ryan, we wouldn't have gotten Wolf of Wall Street or fuck, what's the one where he won the Oscar for again? Revenant. We wouldn't have gotten Revenant. That was also good.
I'll say I'm glad he's alive for Wall Street. That was a hilarious movie.
Also, I forget Tom Hardy's in this movie until I saw the credits. I'm like, oh yeah, he was in this one, wasn't he? Well, no, it's just like I'm used to him being like these straight up full on action roles, and I mean, there's a little action here, but like I kind of forgot that. Oh yeah, he is in this one. You know, a little bit more subdued for his usual stuff. There's also some awards for this movie, a total of 150, including 4 Oscars for achievement in sound editing, sound mixing, visual effects, and cinematography. 4 BAFTA awards for best production design, sound, visual effects, and screenplay. A SAG award for best actor, and 5 Saturn awards for best music, best special effects, best writing, directing, and best sci-fi film of the year. And there are many, many more.
Yeah, the bribes budget on this movie was amazing. Look at that shit.
Well, Ryan, when you make $800 million, you can afford to. Ooh.
I guess. All these fucking sheep going to see this movie. Ugh.
Oh yeah, all these Nolan sheep. Just because they like prestige, you're like, oh, we gotta go see Inception now. It's so good. I don't know where I was going with that one.
Anyway, I have some quote-unquote fun facts for this movie. Let's go ahead and get this over with. In an interview with Entertainment Weekly, writer, producer, and director Christopher Nolan explained that he based roles of the Inception team similar to roles that are used in filmmaking. Cobb is the director, Arthur is the producer, Ariadne is the production designer, Eames is the actor, Saito is the studio, and Fisher is the audience. He quotes in saying, in trying to write a team-based creative process, I wrote the one that I know, says Nolan. So, like, more self-indulgent nonsense. We'll get into that. Later. Next up, when explaining why he thinks implanting an idea is not possible, Arthur says, don't think about elephants to actually make Saito think of them, and thus insert the idea into his mind. The line is a reference to the title of a famous cognitive semantics book, Don't Think of an Elephant, by George Lakoff. The book describes conceptual framing, the use of certain words to literally insert certain ideas about a subject into the listener's mind in a surreptitious way, implanting the idea that taxes are a bad thing by using the phrase tax relief.
Well, that and also taking your money.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to insert the idea that taxes are bad. Anyway, last but not least,
taxation is theft. Overthrow the government.
In spite of this movie's extensive surreal effects sequences, the majority of the visual effects throughout the movie, such as the Penrose stairs, rotating hallway, and the mountain avalanche, and the zero gravity sequence, were actually created by practical methods and not through the use of computer graphics imagery. This movie only has around 500 visual effects shots, as opposed to most other visual effects epics, which can have upwards of 2,000 visual effect shots.
It's impressive, to say the least. Gotta respect a movie that can push out some practical stuff. You don't get enough of those anymore. Ryan can't say anything in response because he knows it's true.
I suppose.
Let's do some initial thoughts. For me, this movie's kind of shared the same headspace for me as The Matrix. It's a film that's trying to be very meta about filmmaking, and is layered and complex. And to that end, I think this film is maybe a bit more successful than Matrix, at least to me, in getting these complex ideas across. Granted, there's less studio meddling that takes place behind the scenes, and Nolan clearly has more freedom to do his work than the Wachowskis did on their film.
Okay. I don't think it's as groundbreaking as you seem to think it is, or a very or like trying to make an intelligent commentary on filmmaking. I think it is. I think it's a self-indulgent look into Nolan's conceptual thinking process, and it's created around the framework of an idea of a person who's so fucked up with trauma that he has to invent friends to try and help him figure out how to get past tragedy in his life. And it's all in a fucking dream sequence. It's a 3-hour long fucking dream sequence where he tries to figure out how to be okay. And that's
like the greatest video game of all time,
sequence.
Super Mario Bros. 2.
I never played it.
Oh yeah, that's right. You were more of a Sega kid. That's right.
Yep, Sega for life. All about that Sonic.
I mean, to be fair, I'm more of a Sonic guy anyway. But I mean, the best Super Mario Bros. Game is Super Mario Bros. 2, hands down. No one can argue that one. Anyway, Ryan, I've got a synopsis here for you. You ready for this?
Must I be?
I mean, I think you'll appreciate some of the subtleties I have in here.
All right, let's see what you got.
Our story begins with a dream. Corncob and his gang are attempting to steal an idea from the Let Them Fight guy from Godzilla. But Serizawa is out of their presence in the dream, and things start to fall apart. They escape in the plan to go. They plan to go their separate ways, but Serizawa needs Corncob to do one job for him. He wants to implant the idea in someone's dream. An idea in someone's dream. Got to read it properly. Robin from Batman says it can't be done, but Korn disagrees and accepts this ridiculous idea. But they need to assemble a crew to pull off the job. You son of a bitch! I'm in.
I just watched this fucking episode last night, you bastard.
And it's the second time I've referenced this in this series, too. It's great. The crew consists of ethnic Walter White, the girl from Beyond Two Souls, Ellen Page, and Bane, who you may remember from such works as Venom and Fury Road. The job? They need to incept the idea into Scarecrow to give Serizawa an A in math class. I may be mixing this up with some other dream heists. Just roll with it for now. The crew spends off-screen hours researching how to do it, unaware of Cobb's inability to control his destructive subconscious problems, which takes the form of his deceased wife. They enter the mind of Scarecrow and are forced to go through several layers of dream layers, as each layer has some kind of problem. Not that exciting. Not exciting if a heist doesn't have if everything goes right the first time, you know. On the third layer, Dream Scarecrow is killed, and it is assumed the mission has failed. But Ellen Page says she and the Korn can go a layer deeper, into what they refer to as limbo, where the dead dreams go to die forever. Dead dreamers go to die forever. There we go. There they deal with Mrs. Cobb, and Ellen is asked to bring Scarecrow back to Arkham, or something like that. Let's see. The jokes, much like the dreams, are beginning to get a little unstable. The heist is more or less successful, but Korn remains trapped in limbo, possibly. He spins his totem, but leaves it behind. We, the audience, watch as the film cuts to black, leaving uncertain if we are still in the dream, or the dream within the dream, or just in normal mundane reality.
God, that's a long time to say it's a bunch of shit about nothing. Man.
I mean, it's better than, say, how many seasons of Seinfeld were there?
Point taken, sir. Point taken.
So, Ryan, what did you think of that one?
So I actually watched this with Allegra. She had kind of watched, like, she kind of half watched it years before, but she had never, like, actually sat down and watched it, so she wanted to watch it with me. And she and I are in agreement that Cobb is, by and large, the most selfish human being to ever live, ever. And the fact that he actually gets a happy ending at the end of this is just kind of a slap in the face to all of the people that he risked their minds in order to get this shit done. Aside from that, there's some fairly strong evidence to suggest that the whole fucking thing was actually a dream, and that the people in Cobb's crew are actually pieces of his subconscious trying to figure out exactly where he lost his mind. So yeah, it just feels like the movie's just kind of doing loop-de-loops for nothing until he just decides to stop running around and just fall into a memory of his children and just be there for the rest of his days.
Well, just so you know, Ryan, I incepted you to say that. Anyway, so... So I don't disagree. I think Cobb is a selfish character, but I think that's the point, though. I think he's supposed to be selfish to show that by not communicating his problems to his teammates, that all he does is just make the situation worse for everybody. I think it's supposed to be because if you go back to what Nolan said during his quote-unquote interview, with what everyone is. Cop's supposed to be the director, and if the director of the film in question isn't communicating the problems he's having to his team, their film's going to fall apart. I.e., the dream, the heist, is going to fall apart. So I think what he does is actually pretty straightforward in line with what the metaphor is supposed to be. But we can dive more into that here in a couple questions. I got something for that.
Is it also common for the director's dead wife to come up and trash the set every time she decides to throw a hissy fit?
I think it's supposed to be representative of a divorced wife, and yes, that happens quite a bit, probably. Anyway, Ryan, I can't remember if I asked you this before in a previous episode. I might have. But have you ever had a lucid dream? And whether you have or haven't, have you had any dreams that stick out to you most vividly? And do you know why they would stick out to you at all?
So Allegra and I actually are very, very interested in talking to each other about our dreams. I don't remember many of my dreams, but I do generally have a sense of control. Not so much to the point where I can control the subject of the dream or like the entirety of the situation, but when a dream is getting too uncomfortable, like I can feel myself, all right, we're done with this today, and then I just wake up. So I want to call it semi-lucid dreaming. I kind of semi-lucid dream. The most recent dream I had that has stuck in my head for some odd reason. I'm honestly not sure why. It happened like a few months ago. But I dreamt that I was a police officer, and me, along with a lot of other police officers, were having some type of ceremony on one of the big train stations in Chicago. It's like a raised platform.
So I don't want to interrupt you, but I want to pause you for a second. I'm just envisioning this now. I'm just imagining you guys do like some sort of Cthulhu blood sacrifice at a train station in cop uniforms.
No, it doesn't have anything to do with Cthulhu. Let me tell you.
I know, but that's what I'm picturing right now. It's so funny.
No. But in essence, the rest of our brethren and the head police guys were getting ready to kill another police officer because they had broken the brotherhood or something like that, and I felt that that this was wrong, and so I took my kind of ceremonial rifle and bayonet, and I actually fought against I actually killed the lead cop, and a lot of the other corrupt cops rushed at me, but I managed to fight them all off and ended up killing all of the cops. But there were other cops there as a part of the ceremony who agreed with what I was doing, but could not bring themselves to act and to help me. So the end of the dream was me standing amidst a lot of dead, corrupt police officers and good police officers who were still standing in formation, watching me, but not doing anything.
Now, I do have a question.
It was very cinematic.
I do have a question, though. And this isn't judging you or anything. I'm just curious. Are rifles with bayonets still a part of the cop's standard outfit, or is that just something the dream had in particular?
I don't believe it's standard police attire, and I don't really know what's part of a dress dress blues police uniform.
Right.
It's for me it was almost a combination between a full uniform police outfit and the Marines dress.
Yeah, that seems like a Marines thing to me.
Uniform.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of a mix of the two for some reason.
Okay.
Not sure why I had that dream still. I haven't had any encounters with the police. Nothing in particular actually happened to me to trigger this dream. It just happened.
I mean, fuck the police. Am I right?
Apparently, Dream Ryan is definitely with you.
So I don't lucid dream to my knowledge, and I don't remember the last dream I had. I know so I actually write them down, and I don't remember what the last one in particular was, but there's one that sticks out to me that I had when I was a kid. And I'm pretty sure I've said this one before on the show, but it was when I was a little kid. I was walking through my mom and dad's house, and there was this bug. It looked like a wasp kind of thing, but it like had a little like light on its ass, kind of like a lightning bug, but like more wasp-like. I don't know what you want to call it, but
Okay.
it landed on some furniture, and immediately the
A
furniture
lightning wasp?
Yeah, maybe. So it landed on some furniture, and immediately it burst into flames, and it freaked me out. And then more of these bugs started coming in, and as they landed on stuff, things would just catch fire. And I don't remember how the dream ended. It's been years since I had it, but I remember this dream so vividly because I was freaked out by how like everything was just burning down around me. And of course, I had a fear of bugs. Still, kind of not really happy with bugs. So the combination of the two just freaked me out a little bit. I'm like, oh, this is uncomfortable. I don't want to be here.
So you mean to tell me you prophesied the murder hornet and you didn't say anything?
Listen, the murder hornets.
How dare you?
The murder hornets rip off the heads of bees. They don't start fires yet. The minute one starts a fire, you can then yell at me.
Okay. You heard it here first, y'all. As soon as the murder hornets start setting fires and committing arson, direct your hate mail to Aaron at evacstation@gmail.com.
I think by that point we'd call them arson bees.
Yeah.
So Ryan, we already mentioned this film's a bit meta. That discusses the creation of film with dreams being the stand-in for film, per Nolan's interview we mentioned. So I guess the question I have for you here is, what does this film seem to be implying or suggesting in regards to the filmmaking process?
That they're all self-indulgent exercises of vanity? I'm sorry.
I mean, you're not wrong.
If we're to take it that way, I mean...
I mean, you could ask a lot of directors; they would probably agree with you, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, so if like not to extend too much of an olive branch to this movie, but the constant if you are gonna use Cillian Murphy, whatever the fuck his name is. Ugh.
I've heard
if
it
you are
both
going to
ways,
use
man.
Mr.
I don't
Murphy's actor or Mr. Murphy's role as a stand-in for the audience, the focus on the focus on implanting ideas that stick with the person and that like actually change the way that they view their life would be the ideal goal of any aspiring filmmaker. Sure. They do a lot of research onto their target. They deeply message that they want to get across. They break it down to its most basic and its most impactful, and they find a way to connect that to the audience on a very personal and profound level. So, not saying that this movie was successful in that, but I think that might be the aim.
I would say that what it's trying to suggest about the filmmaking process is that filmmaking is unpredictable, wild, and sometimes just a pain in the ass. By that I mean, look at the process, for example. If the dreams themselves represent the film in question, how many rewrites, or I guess I should say, how many different versions of a dream do they have to get through before they get to the final quote-unquote product? They go through at least 3 or 4 layers of dreams, and one would suggest that's like a metaphor for when the film has to be rewritten due to studio demands or audience requests or something like that. So I'm thinking that what they're getting at here is that despite how the team is coming together and how some of the team is not, it's still a group effort to come together, and even when you do bring it all together, one little thing can go wrong that requires you to upend everything and try all over again.
That, and you have to worry about random people coming up to shoot up the theater. I'm sorry, that's super dark. That's
a little bit. Speaking of dark, Ryan, what do you think Mal represents in this metaphorical breakdown? Because I don't think he mentioned that, and I'm curious what she could be.
If you're going to really liken it to the filmmaking process and the creative process, you could say Mal represents the inherent insecurity of creative types, that constant thought in the back that imposter syndrome, that you're not good enough, the almost masochistic desire to sabotage the thing that you're trying to do because you don't believe that you're good enough for it, or you don't believe that the work that you're doing is good enough to stand what you're actually trying to do.
So she's a lot less direct than the other characters. That actually makes a lot of sense considering she is like a dream construct, not an actual quote unquote person. So yeah, no, I can dig that. I can follow that.
Yeah.
Ryan, if you were a dream weaver or a dream heister, if you
will, dream weaver, I believe you can get. Sorry.
What would your totem be, and why would that be your totem?
That's a really interesting question. Honestly, I want to do the cliched thing and say it will be a D20, but
I mean,
it's super cliche. But it's also the only thing I can think of that would be like small enough and personal enough to keep on my person.
See, I'm looking around my room right now to see what I do, and something that I would like to carry on me more that would fit this bill would probably be like a deck of cards, because it's both fun to mess around with, but also it could be a useful thing. Like, oh hey, this is my deck of cards, and it has a card missing. I know which one it is, so if I don't have it, then I know that this deck is like, I'm in reality. But if all the cards are here, hey, that means that something's up. But I'm looking over my shelf of like various collectibles. I know you've seen it with all the Pokemon shit on there, and I'm seeing like the little Ruby characters. I'm like, I wouldn't mind bringing like one of the little Ruby characters like in the pocket, and if I just have that with me, get to know its weight, get to know its like feel, and be like, hey, now I know where I'm at.
Yeah. The only other thing I'm thinking of right now is I have a ring where the inside of it actually spins. So I would do something similar to Cobb's, where if I spin it and it lands on a certain dial, then I know, or like it lands at a certain point, then I know it's reality.
I like that.
The spinny ring that I wear. Yeah, that would be my totem. I'm gonna change my answer. That would be my totem.
Yep. I don't know if I could pick my phone, because I don't know if you could actually use your phone in a dream. Well, no,
I hope not. God.
Well, no, like so
you'd be roaming. I hate it.
Well, no. So, for example, I listened to the Rooster Teeth podcast, and one thing Gavin's always going on about in that show is that he can't read in his dreams, and not that he's like dyslexic or anything, but like anytime he tries to read something, there's just nothing there, or it's just like incomprehensible gibberish. And so I'm like, I wonder if that's like a common thing where people just can't read stuff in their dreams.
I don't think I've ever tried to read in my dream.
It's interesting, isn't it, to think about? Okay, next one I got here. What images in the film linger with you the most after viewing it?
The image of the credits, because I was so glad it was done.
Clever girl.
If I have to pick a second one, then I would say the scene where Cobb is describing how he and Maul spent their early years in limbo, and they're making sandcastles, and Cobb knocks one of the sandcastles down, and in the back sky, like a very big block of like large land is like destroyed. That was pretty striking.
Gotcha. I'm gonna be one of the ones who doesn't have anything super like innovative here, but I think I really still enjoy the fight sequence in the rotating hallway. I just think it's a visually cool concept. I used to say the city folded in on itself, but then Doctor Strange just did it better. I'm supposed to like this movie, I know, but like, come on, Doctor Strange like fucking one-upped this one super hard.
Well, Doctor Strange was able to see what Inception did and then use that as fuel to do it better. Also, they were able to say they're wizards and they're just running around and bending reality as they see fit. So it makes more sense that they were able to do more shit like
Oh yeah.
like that and turn that reality bending dial to 11.
Man, I cannot wait for Doctor Strange 2. It cannot come soon enough.
God, me too. Me too.
Let's see what's it. So another film that it takes the idea of characters jumping into dreams is a movie called Sucker Punch. I don't know if you've ever seen that one, Ryan.
I have.
So how would you compare the different interpretations of dreams between this film and that film?
I feel that Sucker Punch was a little more to the point than Inception. It was a little more straightforward regarding it, and the use of dreams in that movie was more straightforward as opposed as a method of escapism and like getting away from a horrible life or being able to cope with really shitty situations in life by imagining these fantastic things, as opposed to the loops of subjective and metaphorical meanings that this movie gets kind of lost and tangled up in.
Okay. No, I mostly agree. I think
I hate this movie.
No, I agree. I think Sucker Punch. I think it's one of Zack Snyder's better movies. To be fair, I think Sucker Punch is a different take in just the grounds that here dreams are supposed to be metaphor for film, and there one could argue dreams are supposed to be just basically be dreams, but they act as like an escape tool, like you mentioned, and they go for a very more surreal approach to dreams. They don't just stick to the idea of trying to keep the dreams grounded so you can make the subject more believe what you're doing is more like believable, like they don't believe they're dreaming. Here it's like, oh hey, shit's just insane, let's just throw everything at the wall, fucking dragons and Nazis and all that stuff, just all over the place. So and for someone like me who likes the bizarre and the weird and the crazy, I think Sucker Punch's dreamscapes just grab me a bit better than Inception. Not that Inception is necessarily bad, just that it seems a bit too straight-faced for me to really be like, oh, hey, these are cool dreams. Like, they're fine, but they're lacking a little something that... They're lacking some dream logic I'd love to see.
Yeah, it's like, I feel that Inception tries to have its cake and eat it too, or at least it wants to be as realistic as possible while also being in the concept of being a fucking dream. So they kind of tie their own shoelaces together in that instance, because if you're in a dream, you should be able to do anything your heart desires and fly in the sky and do all of these things. But they say, well, since we're in somebody else's mind, we can't change things too much or else they'll notice the foreign nature of the dreamer and then we'll get caught. So it's kind of like they're intentionally tying their hands behind their back. So
more of a challenge, I guess.
Yeah, it makes sense that the dreams I mean, it makes sense that they're like, they have this concept of dreams, but they're trying to do it as realistic as possible while also dealing with fantastic things that are happening as well, like fucking shifts in gravity and time dilation that seems to change with every waking moment, because the time dilation in this movie makes no fucking sense.
Cagliostro. Ryan, was everything in the film a dream? And what do you make of the final moments of the film?
Yes, it was a large fucking dream. It was an entire dream. I am 100% convinced on this, and it only makes me upset about the whole goddamn thing. The one thing that really sells it to me is Cobb's children, because you are introduced to this concept, this plot point where Cobb has children that he needs to get home to, and there's an implication that Cobb has been gone from his home for a while because, of silly murder shenanigans, which I'll rant about later on. But in his memories, you see the two kids right before he leaves. And at the end of the movie, and you also see that memory kind of played out every now and again throughout the movie. But at the end of the movie, when he finally gets home and he's spinning the totem and he takes his eyes off of it, he sees his kids. His kids have not grown at all. And B, his kids are wearing the same fucking clothes as in the memory.
Listen, Ryan, have you ever watched an anime? They wear the same fucking clothes all the time. They never age.
Nah, he's dreaming, dog. He's dreaming. That's it.
Bart Simpson is fucking 40 years old, and yet he is still shown as a 10-year-old child in an orange shirt.
No, if this movie is trying to be as realistic as possible to denote some type of connection to reality, then you can't have your cake and eat it too, Mr. Nolan. You can't do that.
Ryan, why can't I eat a cake I already have? What else am I supposed to do with that cake?
You're supposed to display it. That's what it means by having the cake.
But why would you do that? You're supposed to eat it. It's delicious. Eat that cake.
Haven't you seen the Great British Bake Off? They show those cakes off.
Nah, I haven't watched that show. It reminds me too much of how much food I can't eat. Ryan, I actually lost some weight. I'm actually almost down to 185.
Congratulations, sir.
Yeah.
Man, that's close to my goal. I mean, I guess quarantine's doing you better than it is me.
Well, to be fair, I think it's just a switch from a desk job to an on-foot job.
You do have to go out and you do have to go out and actually do stuff for your living, so that makes sense.
Up and down stairs too. Man, it gets pretty crazy.
Congratulations, sir. Well done.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's helped that we've been watching the diet too, and even Amanda's she's just recently got back from the doctor. She got a mostly good, decent bill of health. She obviously has some issues to work on, but she's actively managing her diet more, and as a result, I'm also a part of that. So
awesome. Please give her my best. I miss her.
Absolutely. We'll have to get together on the chat with her sometime with you. So.
Def.
Last question I have, Ryan. I'm sure you've got some for me. Ryan, if you're part of Cobb's heist, like he's lured you into this dream heist for whatever reason, maybe you've got a bill to pay, maybe you've got a debt score to settle, I don't know. What role do you see yourself playing, and why?
I would likely play a role similar to Eames's role. Probably not as good as him because I'm not as adept at becoming other people, but I would say my talents lie in distracting people or claiming people's attention based on whatever it is I'm doing. So I could do something to draw the attention of the constructs of the dream to take the heat off of the rest of the players doing their own thing. That's probably my role.
I view that I would be the architect. I don't want to. I feel like that makes me sound like I'm.
Oh, what a big man!
I know,
architect.
Right? Well, no. So you know me. I'm a writer. I envision shit all the time: worlds, ideas, plans, stuff. I think the only flaw with me being the architect is I would probably try to make every level we go to, quote unquote, a Dark Souls level, and we'd probably die. So.
I see. We're gonna lead the subcons into a maze where they just have to die over and over and over again.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, that makes sense, I guess. Only if the rest of your crew is on fucking get good levels.
Yeah, basically. I mean, I think we can handle it. It's fine.
Oh god. I'm just gonna stay by the base of the level and just sing for a while. How about that?
Just stay by the bonfire. You'll be safe. It's cool.
Yep.
Anyway, Ryan, do you have any questions for me or anything you want to add to this one?
So yeah, like how comfortable were you with the concept of the time dilation in between the dream sequences, because they aggravated the fuck out of me?
It's funny you bring that up. So I told Robbie this during the pre-roll. So when we watched this after the movie was over, I turned to Amanda and I'm like, hey, so I want to watch something that's kind of Inception adjacent. Would you be cool with that? She's like, sure, what is it? So I put on the second episode of Rick and Morty where they enter the dreams and whatnot, and basically do an Inception joke. And there's a line in there that reminds me of what you're talking about, where they're on a parachute falling down, and they're about to get shot by a missile or some bullshit. And Rick's like putting the Inception devices in the flight attendant's ears, and he's like, "Hurry, Morty, we gotta get into her brain. It'll give us more time to figure out how to get out of this bullshit." And I'm sitting here like, yeah, that concept is a bit silly to me. Like, if there was a rational level of growth, like if it went from like 1 minute equals like an hour to equals a day or something like that, like 1 to 1 to 1, sure. But it felt like they were just kind of jumping numbers all over the place. It was a little bit inconsistent. And
yes, exactly.
Like, I'm not opposed to dilation of some kind, but show me your math. Show me your equation. I want to see how you're getting what you're getting, Nolan, because you need to simplify it a little bit so it doesn't seem like you're making it up on the spot.
All right. So how did you feel about the ending, particularly the fact that he actually obtains like a kind of sense of peace at the end of it? What's your take on that? What do you think he deserved it?
I mean, one could argue none of them deserve it because they're all technically criminals, but speaking to specifically Cobb, I don't necessarily think he deserved happiness, but who's to say he really found happiness? If he's in limbo, sure, he might be living out his quote-unquote dream, but that's all it is a dream. It's not real. It never was real. Those kids aren't real. He is living a lie, essentially. And one could argue that eventually he will realize this himself and just finally realize that he's gone insane. I would say, as long as his dream no longer hurts anybody, and as long as no one else is pulled into his madness, I would say it's the best ending I would willingly let him have.
But see, here's the thing, though. Nolan has gone on record in talking about this because everybody made a big deal of whether or not he was dreaming or not. When he said the point of the end shot isn't that you don't know if it's real or not. The point is that for the first time, he doesn't care. Like, he actually walks away from the totem. He doesn't stay to figure out if it's real or not. And the reason why he leaves limbo originally is because he knew it wasn't real and like that. And he's constantly struggling to hold on to reality throughout this entire movie. But at the end, it doesn't matter. He's just decided to let go of that need for it to be real or not and just decided to live in it. So to me, it feels like an unequivocal happy ending for him because he has achieved peace, whether it's real or not.
At the same time, though, if he didn't achieve peace, he would likely get out and cause more chaos to the rest of the world through his dream heists. I would say him at peace and isolated from the rest of humanity is probably the best alternative to anything else we could have gotten, aside from him just being straight up dead. Which I guess arguably he kind of is, so.
All right, that's fair. That's a fair answer. I'll give you that.
I got him. Yeah.
So that's all the questions that I had on.
All right.
This silly ass movie.
Well, for those who are just joining us, you could also follow us along on Tumblr, Twitter, Facebook. You can also reach out to us via email directly, and we'll read all these comments, questions on our exclusive stuff on the Patreon. And you can also get bonus episodes, including monthly exclusives like this month's Following or next month's Kill Bill. And then you can also get bonus episodes every 10 days for the pre-roll, which is just Ryan, I, and any guests we have talking about non-related film stuff, just all sorts of silly shenanigans in between the takes. You'll enjoy it. It's some of the more fun off the cuff stuff we do. And Ryan, if anyone wants to email us and ask questions that could be read on these shows, what could they email to?
They can email us at excuse me. Sorry. That's evacstation@gmail.com.
Indeed. Now we're on to the final segment of the show where we talk about the film, we talk about the whole movie, or show. This is the final segment where we talk about the final thoughts, ranking the film from platinum to trash and all the colors in between. Ryan, you can go first since it's the thing we do. What do you really think?
Oh, thank goodness. Okay. So I really like this movie. It wasn't as hard to play the villain role this time because Allegra straight up hated Cobb the entire time.
I mean, to be fair, he's not a likable guy.
She was so mad at him. I mean, I personally like throughout the times watching it, I don't feel like super animosity towards him. Like, I understand he's like actively fucking shit up, but it's like he's so desperate to reclaim his life that he's willing to do this stuff. And he's like, it's not that he's like actively throwing people into hails of gunfire, but his lack of communication and his manipulation tactics constantly do put everybody at risk. So I definitely see that he's a complex and a problematic character, but I never feel like animosity for him. Allegra was not the same.
Yeah.
The moment she realized that Maul in his subconscious shares the information that he knows, and it would be actively working against the team in the mission, she's just like, this is dumb. Why are we doing this? No. Does anybody else know that? Oh, shit. So, like, she was definitely pointing out some of the things that I don't look at. But it was great to have that perspective. I personally loved this movie 100%. It blows my mind every single time I see it. It's not necessarily that I see something new, but it's just a beautiful film in terms of representing the subconscious, really delving into the parts of your mind and using it to understand people and ourselves. Like I was reminiscent. It was reminiscent of Paprika, when the anime movie. When I was thinking of how amazing a tool this could be to understand ourselves and other people as well. Like, just the concept of being able to lucid dream and actually speak to parts of your subconscious and really like delve into that stuff, it will be amazing. But it's an amazing twist on a heist movie. I would say the only things that I think hold it back a little bit is the length. Although I personally don't mind the length.
It's a long movie. I will admit it's a long movie. If I'm in a good movie, particularly a Christopher Nolan movie, I don't really notice the runtime. But this is long. This is a long movie. Yeah.
If you enjoy the shit, if you enjoy it, you're gonna be in it. But if you don't, you're gonna be like, damn, it's still going. Okay, that van is still fucking falling into the water. Okay, damn. All right, we're still here.
One could argue there are some cuts that could have been made.
Yeah, one could argue that there are some cuts that could have been made. Definitely. I'm trying to avoid giving multiple platinums in this run. I want to give this a high gold. The only thing keeping me back from a platinum is that I'm trying to be a little more objective about it. And I think that while this movie is absolutely breathtaking, it's not necessarily for everyone. Yes, I'm gonna stick with my goal.
I'll add a bit here, and maybe you'll change your mind. We'll see. So comparing this to the other film we did last week, which was Prestige.
The Prestige.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So we just recorded it, so that's why my brain's like, wait a minute, that wasn't last week. But no. So last week we did Prestige, and I gave it platinum pretty quick. And like I said, I think comparing the two is doable, because they both have a very meta approach to, again, the whole filmmaking process, films in general, and the roles of the characters within making that. And I know that's not what the film's actually about. It's about people going into dreams or making magic. Yeah, all of you calm down for a minute. At the core of it, Nolan is trying to express his metaphorical ideas in regards to film. That's what the basic, most deep level is about this stuff. It's the limbo layer. I think if you're comparing those two together, I would say Prestige is a more successful attempt at that message. It's a more grounded film. It doesn't get lost in its own loops and headspace, and the characters are, for the most part, likable. Like, yes, they're still flawed, but like comparing both the magicians to Cobb is just kind of like, he is aware that he is putting people in danger and yet does nothing. People around him are aware he's causing danger and can't stop him. Meanwhile, in Prestige, both people have been wronged by the other and they're seeking revenge. And that is a bit more of a visceral human response I can respect versus people willingly just being like, oh yeah, no, we're going to die because of this guy, but it's cool, it's fine. And I know it's not exactly like that, but like, still just not quite where I wanted to see that go. And then, like we talked about in comparing to Sucker Punch, I think that while the dream heists are cool, I do ultimately want more out of my dreamscapes than just dudes in suits going on spinny hallways. And it's not bad, but I don't think it's necessarily my favorite film of the Nolan series, or indeed in my top 10 films, period. I would say this is probably a lower gold for me, but still probably a gold.
Interesting.
Well, I mean,
I would say this is one of my top 10 films, but yeah, I can be objective enough to see some of its shortcomings.
Yeah, and I will agree with what's been said earlier about it being a little long. Like I said, I would probably put some cuts in there, and I don't know. I just think that 2 hours would have been a good length for it. I think 2.5 might be stretching it just a little bit, but we'll see. Next week, Ryan. Next week we have. I don't have a script page set up for it yet, but we are still doing Nolan movies. You'll also be getting... Oh, wait. Where's the schedule at? Actually, because I think we are doubling up next week in releases. Let me see the schedule here. Because the women's movies and the Nolan movies, they're overlapping a little bit. Let's see what we got here. We have... okay, so Dunkirk is when they start overlapping. Got it. So next week, you guys will be getting Interstellar, and then the week after that, you'll be getting Dunkirk and Birds of Prey, a combination that perfectly makes sense. Do not question my methods. Well, I was originally going to have Gravity overlap, but then I'm like, but I wanted to start the season with Birds of Prey, and now I'm all messed up on my schedule anyway. So I'm just going to stick with what I got. So, yeah. So that's going to be how it goes, and then we'll be ending that season with Wonder Woman, and then after that, we'll be getting into our horror films, beginning with The Exorcist and The Conjuring 1. It'll be a fascinating season, I'll tell you what.
Oh God, The Exorcist! Oh Lord.
And then in the middle of our horror season, we'll also have the Kingsman trilogy, should the third one finally release, sometime in September. So we've already recorded those, Ryan. Almost 4 or 5 months ago.
Man, we're really on it. Like past us are on their shit.
Yep, totally wasn't because things got delayed way later than we thought they were going to. Totally not.
Nope. Cagliostro. Don't worry about it.
So thank you for listening, and we'll see you after the credits.
Bye.